We have lots to discuss in today's video, including some huge news and rumors around star player Kirill Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild. New reports today suggest that he and his agent have rejected the largest contract offer in NHL history with the Minnesota Wild as of yesterday. Where is this going to lead things? Will he maybe sign for a different amount of money, a different term? Is he want to be traded? Considering the offer, lots of questions and lots of panic within the Wild fan base. We'll discuss the future there. Plus, we have some more comments from Quinn Hughes regarding what his brother Jack had to say yesterday at the NHL media tour in Vegas. Plus, we have some pretty high-profile prospects, signing some prospects today, including some guys in San Jose and St. Louis, and some more PTOs announced as well coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss in today's video. Of course, we'll get to the Kaprizov stuff in just a few minutes. We have some other signings and comments from around the league to take a look at here today. First up, we do have some not so great news. We learned today that Zach Dean of the St. Louis Blues has entered the NHL/NHLPA Player Assistance Program. So he will obviously be out for an indefinite period of time. I suspect at this point they're usually in that program for a minimum of 30 days. So that would mean missing training camp in the first part of the season. But obviously, his health and well-being is more important than being there for that if he's not able to be. So certainly want to wish him the best in getting through whatever he's dealing with that program, and certainly hope to see him back in the NHL at some point during the season. Now, as I mentioned, we have some higher profile prospects signing contracts today, and none higher than the number 2 overall pick from the 2025 NHL draft, Michael Misa, signing his 3-year entry-level contract today with the San Jose Sharks. Of course, we had talked about during the rumor section of some videos leading up to the Carey Price contract trade that the Sharks were holding off signing Michael Misa because if they would have done that earlier, they would have been at the absolute max allowable contracts of 50 on their books at one time. So that kind of would have maxed out signing anybody else, including taking on the Price contract. So they were hoping to get that deal worked out so that they could send a contract back, right? So that they weren't kind of maxing themselves out and not being able to sign this player, because clearly Misa's a player that they wanted to have in training camp and expected to play in the NHL this year. So obviously it's good news. So he gets his 3-year ELC. The cap hit for Misa, of course, will be $975,000. The breakdown is for all the top prospects. Taking that high in the draft, he gets a salary of $877,500, a signing bonus of $97,500. And he has ability to earn A and B bonuses. The Schedule A bonuses are a max of $1 million, and the Schedule B bonuses are a max of $2.25 million. So he can earn over $4 million per season if he hits on all of the bonuses and maxes that out. So Michael Misa gets a nice rookie contract there from the San Jose Sharks, and will be in training camp and ready to roll. He'll wear 77 as well. That was also revealed today. I guess he's been living with Tyler Toffoli so far the last little bit of the summer, for the last few weeks that he's been out there, and he's indicated that he's hoping that Toffoli will let him stay for the season. So we'll see. We know that some of their other top players like Celebrini and Smith are living with Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau, and they're moving back in for their second year with those legends. So obviously having Misa with a guy like Toffoli would be a great idea as well. They can have those veteran guys to lean on and kind of learn how to become pros. I think it's a fantastic setup there for those guys in San Jose. The St. Louis Blues also signed a pair of prospects, and of course the higher profile one would have been their first round pick for the 2025 NHL draft, and it's Justin Carbonneau. So he gets his 3-year ELC as well. There is some that believe Carbonneau might have a shot at cracking the Blues lineup for the upcoming season. He might be, even though he was not a super high pick, more of the middle part of the first round, but that he's somebody that might have a shot at the very least getting that 9-game sample to see if he can stick in the NHL or not. So we'll see what happens, but obviously the signing means he's not going to college hockey. He's available to play for them right away. If not, he can play in junior. and they can give him a sample size and see where things go. But getting him signed today is important as well. They also signed a 7th rounder from 2023 draft, and that was Nikita Susiev. He also gets his 3-year entry-level contract. So a couple of prospects there. Now fully under contract with the Blues. And so we got some PTOs today as well, 4 in total, including a couple with the Florida Panthers, bringing in a couple of players on, one forward and one defenseman. Tyler Mott will go to Florida, as well as Ben Harper, both looking for contracts, will go to camp on a PTO. As I mentioned before, with Florida, they've got a lot of guys on that can play bottom 6 roles there. I'm a little bit surprised. They already signed Luke Kunin this year in the offseason. He's got a contract. They've got Jesper Boqvist. They've got Thomas Nosek, who they brought back. They got AJ Greer. They've got Jonah Gatchevich. And now they've got Mott on a PTO. And he's not, I think they had another PTO the other day as well. So, there's a lot there. This is a little bit surprising. Ben Harper, on the other hand, might have a shot to maybe be a 7-8 defenseman for them. I don't know. We'll see. We also can learn today a couple of goaltenders got some PTOs. Kevin Mandolese, formerly of the Senators, he was drafted, developed by the Sens, ended up being traded to the Avalanche last year. Was not qualified as a restricted free agent. Is going to camp with Montreal. He's a UFA now. And Antoine Bibeau, goaltender as well, will go to a training camp with the Dallas Stars on a professional tryout offer. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, we talked again about the fact that Jack Hughes at the NHL Media Tour in Vegas made comments kind of reiterating what we had heard from Jim Rutherford, that the Hughes brothers would like to play hockey together in the NHL. This is not... I understand it's a story, and the reason it's big, more so from the Vancouver perspective, is because losing Quinn would be such a massive blow to that franchise, right? I can understand why they would be paranoid to lose their star player. They've never had a player like him, especially on the back end, definitely the greatest defenseman in Canucks history already. So to lose him as a fairly young free agent, this would be a massive blow. So as much as you can understand the family aspect of it, it still would really suck for the team. There's just no other way around it. But I would hope anybody in their right mind can understand that family and brothers would like to have the opportunity to play together. I'm not saying that they, not all brothers kind of force the issue and try to make it happen. But I think they'd be lying if any of them ever said that they never thought about it or wasn't remotely interested. So yesterday, Jack said, sure, I'll be honest, I'll say it. Clearly we'd be interested in playing together. And he talked about how the Canucks media had focused so much on it, whatever. But Quinn Hughes today completely defended his brother, which was no big surprise. I don't think really Jack said anything out of line either. I don't think Quinn really needed to defend him, but he basically had made sure he said they had no issues at all with what Jack said. He said basically, what's he supposed to say? That he doesn't want to play with me? We're brothers. But the thing that caught my attention was when Quinn was asked about his future, looking at the Canuck fan base and the concern over the future, that they do want to play together. The comment was basically saying that he enjoyed his time in Vancouver. He's been very thankful for his time in Vancouver. Didn't think that he would ever become what he has become, and that's happened because of the people he's had in Vancouver. He's had some great coaches and talked about how management's kind of given him the keys there to be the leader, and how he wants to propel his game further this year and wants to help propel his teammates further this year. Feels like he's got unfinished business from having the team having a down year last year. But he never really said, that I want to stay. Never said I want to resign. He never said any of those things. So he didn't say he didn't, but he sure as heck had an opportunity with a big lob that he could have just said, yeah, I want to play with my brothers, but I'm committed to Vancouver. He didn't say, to me, it just had an opportunity to kind of reassure things, and he didn't. So I'm not saying he wants to leave. I just think that at this point, the team's success is probably going to play a major role. At the end of the day, he's got this year and next under contract. Jack's still locked up for several years in New Jersey. Luke is unsigned. He's trying to, the rumor is he wants his contract to match Jack's as far as term goes. So we will see what happens, but certainly I don't think Canucks fans were looking for some reassurances today for these comments from Quinn, and they didn't really get it, in my opinion. So I know, like I said, none of us should be surprised. It's not really shocking news that brothers are interested in playing together, but yeah, didn't really reassure anybody that staying in Vancouver is something that he will consider. But it doesn't mean he won't. He just could have said it, and he didn't. So it's leaving people asking questions. Now, as I mentioned, the biggest news of the day by far is Kirill Kaprizov. Frank Saravalli broke a story earlier today, and this story has been verified by other reporters, that Kirill Kaprizov and his agent Paul Theophanis rejected the largest offer for a contract in NHL history. Now, we knew and we had heard all summer from Wild management, Bill Guerin, and in ownership too, Craig Leopold had commented that they were not too concerned about getting Kaprizov signed. Money was going to be no issue. They were prepared to make him the highest paid player. You know, they were willing to throw the bag of money in the moon at him to get him to sign. So they felt like that would be enough, right? So you heard nothing but positivity, reassurances from their side of it. Now, of course, July 1, come and gone. You know, the fact that it didn't happen immediately, not a huge concern. But, you know, as the number of days and a few weeks go by and you don't hear anything, then you finally start hearing some rumblings that, oh, well, you know, Bill Guerin's concerned that maybe some things were lost in translation, and that having a face-to-face meeting when Kirill gets back to Minnesota will hopefully get things settled and they'll sort it out. Well, that's, you know, Kirill's been back now. They've had those meetings, and that didn't happen. So, you know, is it time to panic is the big question. So, like, as Saravalli put out earlier, it was an 8-year contract at $128 million. So it would have surpassed the highest dollar amount previously in NHL history, which I believe was Alex Ovechkin, who was $124 million, longer term, mind you, but still, as far as total dollars, it would have been the most in NHL history. It would have given him an AAV of $16 million per season. That would have been the highest in NHL history as of today. And he said no. So that's concerning. When you give the player the max term, you know, an historical amount of money, and they don't take it, it leaves you scratching your head going, what more do we got to do here? So clearly, I know Michael Russo, also beat reporter for The Athletic that covers the Wild, Joe Smith, also had some has ties to the Wild. Russo, who's very well connected, did an emergency podcast today. He's in Vegas for the media tour, but does corroborate Frank Saravalli's story and says that he's been able to confirm with his Wild sources that a meeting did take place yesterday between Kaprizov, his agent, and Wild management, and I believe the owner might have been there as well, and that he indeed did reject a contract offer. So there was one report out there, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Rob Reinhardt, who was disputing Saravalli's story, saying that sources have told him that this was not the case, that they never even exchanged like formal numbers or nothing. But I'll take that from Saravalli and Michael Russo that this is indeed legit. So on Russo's podcast, he makes some great points here. So, you know, to him, he kind of looks back at the Minnesota Wild's previous all-time great player, Marian Gaborik. Of course, Gaborik was in a situation where they couldn't get an extension ironed out. He goes into the season, gets hurt, misses significant time, and then walks. Like, they can't afford to let that happen again. Clearly, the Wild have had some good seasons lately. I don't know if anybody would call them a cup contender, but they've been good for sure. But unfortunately, during a large part of the Wild history, they've been good but not great. And they've made the playoffs numerous times. They don't have a lot of playoff success, so they can usually be counted upon for mediocrity. But getting over the hump and becoming a true contender and making deep playoff runs is what this team has been missing out on. And having a star player like Kaprizov has been a problem as to why they haven't been able to do that. And but now he's been there for a while, right? So you got to wonder what's going through Kaprizov's mind. Now, the Russo says that Kaprizov, to his knowledge, has not countered to the Wild saying, I would consider similar terms on a short-term deal, like a shorter-term deal, like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because Russo himself has been saying that he felt it was in the player and the team's best interest to maybe not go max term. He's in his late 20s. He missed half the season last year with injury. Maybe the shorter term would be better. Not saying he's not a great player, but, does he want to end up being tied to Minnesota for maybe the rest of his career, right? So the problem here as well, like I said, you can't let him walk for nothing, but there's other issues. He has a full no-move clause. So you can't trade him anywhere. You'd have no choice but to talk to him and say, okay, now if you get to the point, like if they continue these negotiations for the next little bit until we're getting closer to the beginning of the season, and they feel it's pretty clear that they've hit the point of no return, that there's nothing we can offer this guy to make him sign, do you have to trade him so you don't lose him? And the answer is probably, like according to Russo, it's probably yes, right? Because you can't let yourself be in a spot with that team where he becomes Mitch Marner 2.0. And, maybe they get lucky like the Leafs and they get a sign and trade and get something in return. Maybe they don't. Even then, the leverage is lost. The return is light. The Leafs kind of got lucky. They get a useful player in Nikolai Waugh. Because that rarely happens, right? Now, do you go to Kaprizov and say, listen, we know you've got the full right to choose what you do because you got a full no-move clause, but would you, if you won't sign with us, would you give us some teams that you would waive to go to? Do you have to have that tough conversation? What is it though? Like I said, Russo says that he has no reason right now to think that Kaprizov has countered and wants a shorter term. Now, he can't say with certainty that that's not the case, but it's not been brought up as of right now. So, is he looking to grind for more money? I would think probably not. Some reporters think it's not about money. It's more about winning and where does he want to be? Can they take a chance that he gets hurt? Because like I said, with what Russo's saying, you don't want to have Gaborik 2.0 in Minnesota. You don't want to have Marner 2.0 happen what happened to Toronto this past year and have your hands handcuffed. Do? You have a little bit more time to negotiate before you have to make that decision. But ultimately, what point, if he doesn't want a long-term deal, the only other option is that you try to offer him similar terms. You throw a ton of money at him and say, well, would you sign for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and try to get him to extend as long as he's willing to. And at least at that point, you keep him for a while, and it puts the pressure on the Wild to continue building a winning culture, winning team, that hopefully he's still going strong and he still wants to stay at the end of that one. But if he won't do a short-term deal, then you're kind of at a, then that tells us that he just doesn't want to be there, right? And like I said, as of right now, we don't have reason to think that a short-term deal has been countered. So does he want to be in Minnesota long-term? Now, Russo went on to say, just spitballing, of course, no connection, no sources, no nothing, just his own thoughts. Where could he go? And the main team that comes to mind is the Rangers. He said a lot of Russians seem to really like New York. Plus, he's got some good buddies with the Rangers, with Shesterkin and Panarin. Panarin's a pending UFA as well. So maybe the Rangers end up extending Panarin and get Kaprizov if that were to work out. The Rangers also have some players that they could offer to Minnesota that they might find interesting. So that might be a possibility. He said that as far as he knows, Kaprizov also really loves Chicago, but doesn't know if he'd want to go there given that they're nowhere near contending. So, and I don't know that he has any friends that are right off either. Not that that's everything, but Chicago, it was mentioned. mentioned all the other prime spots that he said that a lot of the other Russian players have seemed to like. Whether it be, like I said, New York, Vegas, Miami, so like the Panthers. But like, I don't see how the Panthers or the Golden Knights could make this work. They'd have to move a star player. So I don't know that. Like, Jack Eichel's coming up for contract. Are they going to move Eichel for Kaprizov? Like, it would take something like that to have the space, right? So I don't know if we're going to see something crazy like that. So yeah, it kind of leaves you wondering. LA, I guess maybe is a possibility. I don't know, sure, what he thinks there. But looking at like some of the teams, like, he said basically that but he thinks that like the Rangers was the main one he kept coming back to. But again, it's early. There's been no official trade conversations. There's no rumors saying that they're having talks. It's just that this is his opinion on, where you'd probably start. There's, like I said, a lot of Russian players love New York. He's got some friends that play there. They've got some interesting pieces that they could consider trading. They would probably they've been aggressive to try to be able to contend. They'd probably be all over trying to get a deal done if they knew he was available. So, again, interesting times, but it's hard to say. So, basically, if Russo was running things, like, he thinks that it's risky to let him take the ice at the beginning of the season with no extension in place. Because what if he gets hurt? And then you could end up being completely screwed. You're already screwed to the point that you don't have a lot of leverage. If teams know that the player won't sign with you and wants to be moved, you lose your leverage, because they're going to be like, well, we can wait and trade for or sign him as a free agent. Why would we give you a king's ransom now? Like I said, look, you maybe have a scenario that happens like with Marner. I don't know. I mean, I guess in that case, you take the chance that you have a good year, and if he still won't sign, you trade him next. Like, try to do a sign and trade like you do with Marner. But like I said, what if there's injury? What if there's other things that you can't predict? It's risky, very, very risky. So what does Minnesota do here? Like, can they get him to sign? Is there anything they can do? Do they have to trade him? Let me know what you would do. And if you're a Wild fan, let me know how you're feeling, especially down in the comments. And we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.